right in front. Carl's going to come up and give you one. And I will turn around and see if you have questions. Sir.
Hi, my name's Gary. I'm from Kentucky, New Hampshire. How you doing? Thanks.
I'm doing great.
Up. Yeah. I believe in you. I like your rhetoric. I like your style. I don't know where you're at in the polls. I don't understand why the front runner is the front runner. But I got to ask you this question. What is your stand on abortion? Number one. Number two, do you believe that should be a political football for as long as it's been? And I believe that should be between a woman, her husband, and a doctor. Not politics that people gravitate towards to say a certain group or to appease a certain group just to get a vote.
Yep. Okay. So I'm pro-life, and I'm pro-life because that's the way I was raised. And I believe that every life is a precious gift from God. Now, legally, what I believe is that the Constitution says nothing about the issue of abortion. And for 50 years, we've had a case that pretended that it said something about abortion when it didn't. What the Constitution says is that if we don't talk about it in here, those decisions revert to the states. I believe every state should be able to make, and its people, should be able to make their own judgment about abortion.
So you don't believe it should be a federal thing?
No, I do not believe it should be a federal thing. I think every state should be able to make that decision.
Why is it a political football?
It is a decision that governments make on every issue regarding the treatment of life. And the reason for that is because it's right in the beginning of both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, that everyone has a right to life. And so it becomes a governmental issue because of that, because our foundational documents gave to each of us, both born and yet to be born in this country, a right to life. So now governments have to figure out, okay, how do we deal with that? When you look at what's happened since Dobbs was decided a year ago, it's all over the place in this country, right? So in Oklahoma, abortion is banned completely unless the life of the mother is at risk. In my home state of New Jersey, you can get an abortion up to 9 months. Now, look, I think it is absolutely true.
When that happens, it's an unusual situation.
I'm not saying when.
The way you present it, you're acting like a person is going in at 9 months pregnant with a normal, fetus and saying, "I would like that."
I'm not. No, excuse me. No, excuse me. I'm not acting in any way. No. I'm telling you what the law is. We're having a discussion about the law. And the law in my state says that if you choose to come in at 9 months and want an abortion for any reason, you cannot be denied that. That's what we're talking about, how we decide how these things get done. And I will tell you this, there was a majority in the state legislature and a governor who said that should be okay. So that's what the law is. You can't say that a law is bad on one side if you disagree with it. And then if you agree with the underlying philosophy, say, yeah, okay, that's true, but it would never happen. In New Jersey, it's permitted to happen. And not just in New Jersey, in New York as well, it's up to 9 months. In California, it's up to 9 months. My point is not to advocate for one thing or the other. My point in answering your question is, I think the way this should be handled is that every state and its citizens should make the judgment of what they think is best for their state. In New Hampshire here, it's significantly different. Thank you. And then the federal government should stay out of it. It becomes a bigger political football when you get the federal government in the middle of it. Because in each individual state, you have a much better chance of affecting what's going to happen than you do affecting what's going to happen in Washington. And so here in New Hampshire, the rules are significantly different than either New Jersey or Oklahoma. And, there are some states that are at 6 weeks now. There's some states that are 12. There's some states that are at 20. There's some states that are at 9 months. But it's the people of those states who decide. And we also can't ever figure out necessarily what people are going to do. You have a state like Kansas, which is a deep red state, elects Republicans for president, most of the time for governor, both United States senators, majority of their congressional delegation. banning abortion was put on the ballot. It was defeated by over 62% of the people in the state. If you had gone to political pundits beforehand, they all would have told you it was going to pass in a state like Kansas. This is a deeply personal judgment and decision. And I think those decisions should be made as close to the people as they can be. And I think that's why the Constitution says if it's not in here, the state should decide. I think each and every state should make that decision. The federal government should not get in the middle of this unless and until you looked at all the states and let's say you came up with a consensus. Okay, well then if you want to put that consensus in place, the federal government should consider that. But remember this, you need 60 votes in the United States Senate for anything to get it passed. I can't think of a time, whether it was life of the mother, someplace in between, or 9 months, that you get 60 people in the United States Senate to agree to. And you know what? That's good. It's good because you should decide here in New Hampshire what you want the laws to be here. We should decide in New Jersey. And look, in New Jersey, I disagree with that law, but too bad. I had my chance to make my argument. The other argument won out. And whether I agree with it or not, if it so offends me, I can move and go someplace. If that is the single most important thing to me or to my wife, well, then we can move if we don't like it. But the states should decide it. And once we have those decisions in the states, I don't want to give you an illusion. It won't be resolved. It's too emotional an issue. And the reason it's become a political football is because it's such an emotional issue. So you will regularly have arguments and disputes about this in our country. But at least now, the states and the people in those states are getting to make the decision, not some court in Washington, D.C., or a group of people, in suits and ties in Washington. It's the people on the ground here.
So for the record,
Yeah.
you wouldn't push it federal.
No,
You'd leave it up to the states.
I leave it up to the states. That's what I've been fighting for my entire life as a lawyer. I thought the decision in Roe was wrong, and I'm certainly not going to change my mind now.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir, right there.